Good evening, everyone. It is 7 o'clock Tuesday night. You are back at the D7 Toastmasters Pathways Virtual Academy. Cue the music, which we don't have, so no music. Anyway, I am your guide, James. Welcome once again to another session. Currently, Janet, Marv, and Nina are on. Good. I've had a lot of interest from people on YouTube who watch these elsewhere. Tonight, we're going to cover a few basics and a few of my favorite topics because those tend to be the ones that people are finding the most problem dealing with. First and foremost, let's go over some resources. Here, let's switch over to live view of Toastmasters International webpage. These videos, if you are unavailable at this time, and you're probably watching them by video if you're unavailable at this time, so you probably already know this. They are available on YouTube. If you type in D7 Toastmasters Virtual Academy and then hit your return key, you will see all of the videos in a playlist available. Inside of that playlist are not only the sessions that have been recorded, there are also other videos. I put up one last week, which was specifically about where are the evaluations. Actually, I think that was 2 weeks ago. And there's other material in here as well. Shorter videos that I'm planning to put up on specific topics, as well as videos from other people that will be addressing Pathways issues. The other place you can find these videos is on the D7 Toastmasters webpage, which this is a shot of. You can see up here in the banner bar, we've got click on for Pathways. Once you select that, that will link you to the page, which has essentially links to all of the videos that have been posted so far. And the page, there we go. So these are links to the videos on YouTube that have been posted, as well as you can scroll down for more information further. And as we continue, especially into next year, because I've been talking about this with several people, we're going to continue the Pathways Academy because Pathways is here to stay, and frustration and issues and just figuring out how to work with it is also here to stay. So I am going to continue the D7 Toastmasters Pathways Virtual Academy, maybe not every week, but definitely by putting more content up here. So this is a good place to keep an eye for that. All right. Now, my usual plug for Pathways Triple A Award. It's coming down to the deadline here. The Triple A is 3 awards. You've got the Early Adopter, the Early Achiever, and the Early Advisor. The Early Adopter is expiring at the end of March. Yes, March 31st, 2018 is the expiration date for Early Adopter. That Pathways AAA Award is simply a couple of members got together, spearheaded by Kate Arnold, and said, you know, how do we get more interest in Pathways? How do we encourage people to get involved? Well, let's offer them a prize. So that's exactly what we were doing. You do the AAA Award, and I will mail you one of your very own, and it's not focusing on it very well, but this pin right here that you can see on your screen, I will send one of those to you after you've completed all 3 parts of the Pathways AAA. And so far in the district, I have mailed out, I believe, 16 pins. There are over 125 people on the early adopter list, and if everybody goes through and finishes it out, I am going to be mailing pins like crazy, and I look forward to it. So please, if you look in your spam filters or in my Gmail, this shows up in my promotional folder is where these emails come because they come from Vertical Response, which is the email service that District 7 uses. That also is where the emails about the upcoming spring conference and other information will be from District 7. All right, let's get to Pathways, primarily straightforward and unadulterated. This is Toastmasters International's webpage. Once you have logged in, accessing Pathways is simply by clicking on the Pathways icon. Notice in our D7 website, we stole that idea of that Pathways. Whoops, where'd it go? D7, there it is. The Pathways tab on that upper bar. That's we got it from Toastmasters International. We didn't create a wheel on this one. We just copied them. Once you click on the Pathways tab, you can select Access Path, etc. All of these, so far as I can tell, take you to the Pathways Learning Experience window, which is this one here, where you can choose your path on the left-hand side, access the path in the middle box, or take a look at the copy of the Navigator, now in multiple languages, as you can see. You can look at that or access other paths here and log in right there using the login as a member. Okay, now we dive into the issues. Primarily, the biggest issue that I'm getting is questions about how to complete projects or how to get that red check mark on your educational transcript. The educational transcript, the blue button here, is where all of your curriculum lives, as well as in this box here, there are quick links to that curriculum as well. I will click on the educational transcript. It will take us right into my transcript. This is a list of, and for you it will be the same, a list of all the resources, including the paths that you have looked at. So you notice these icons on the left-hand side. The stack of books is Pathway Curriculum. These are the paths. Like this, I've got Pathways Guide Task, because I'm a guide. Also the Mentor Program, because I completed level 2 and was invited into the Mentor Program. Presentation Mastery and Strategic Relationships being the two primary paths that I'm working on. The other icons, this little folder with the discs in it, those are going to be evaluation resources. If you've clicked on an evaluation resource to look at, either to download for yourself or because you're doing an evaluation for somebody else in your club, it shows up in your transcript. As well as this right here is a video that I watched, which was saving documents in ePortfolio. So let's go back to the home page. Actually, no, we're going to click on the Tutorial and Resources tab. Once that drops down, we click on it. This takes us into the list of all the tutorials and the resources available for Pathways. So this is how you end up with those icons. You see the 3 icons are right here. You can sort by those icons. So if you just want to see curriculum, click on the curriculum, and then it shows you, we've got curriculum here is the mentor program. If you just want material items, these are evaluations and other material related items. Or if you want online class, then you click on that and it will provide you with those. Now the online class here that you're clicking on is different than your curriculum. This is not tied to one of your paths. This is information that they're offering you outside of the paths. As you can see, there's the 360 evaluation resource, which is tied to projects in level 5 of various paths. And everything's in multiple languages now because they are putting stuff out for everybody in all the different languages around the world, which is fantastic. So this is where those icons come from, the tutorials and resources. Let's go back to the home, and then we'll step into educational transcript. Once I'm in the educational transcript, I'm going to look at strategic relationships because that's the one that I've just completed level 1 in. So I'm now in level 2. These red check marks are probably one of the most difficult little beasts to figure out how to get to show up. And this is, I will show you exactly the process you need to go through to get those. It is a bit different than the legacy program because it is possible to complete an entire project inside of Pathways here online and get the check mark without ever having given a speech in your club. And that's because you can go through the curriculum and read each page, take the post-test, pre-test, take the post-test, and complete the project before you've even given your speech. If you end up getting that check mark that says you've completed your project before you've actually completed your project, don't worry about it. Don't freak out. Just communicate with your VP to schedule your speech in your club meeting so that you can get that done. All right. Now, let me pause. Do we have any questions so far on what I've covered? Because I am just throwing things at you like crazy.
James,
Yes.
this is Janet.
Hi, Janet.
I would like to ask a question because you just touched on something that happened in our own club. We had a member go through all of those steps and it triggered a level completion.
Yes.
During this, since I received the level completion as the VPE, I need to find out what, as VPE, I'm supposed to do. Do I tell Toastmasters that he's not done yet, or do I just let it sit?
Primarily, your best routine when you as a VPE get a level completion that you are uncertain whether or not the member has actually completed. First step is communicate with the member. Did you actually give these speeches? And, I wasn't in the club, didn't see them. Did you give them an outside event? If it turns out that it's just that they have gone through the material in Pathways here and haven't completed all the projects, then all you have to do is simply deny the request and then tell them to go through, schedule the speeches, do the speeches in their club, then come back and refile for their level completion once they've completed all of the speeches.
Okay, how do I deny the request? I mean, we've had this conversation. He had gone just exactly like you said through all the steps, and he actually went through 3 levels that way.
Oh, fun. Which
Yeah.
means that somebody was clicking off in order for that person to proceed through the levels. At the end of every level, the level completion, the only way they can move on to the next level is if the VPE signs off on it.
And I did not.
So is he a member of another club as well?
No, he's just a member of our Sherwood group. And
okay.
I know that he just did the before and after, before and after, before and after on each of the steps. And, we talked about it last week, but I don't know how to deny it so that it resets.
Right. Well, it won't reset for him, but you as the VPE are the gatekeeper at the end of each level. So the only way now is, let's see, I'm clicking into level 2 here. You can see level 2, I've got the access to the various projects, but I've got nothing completed and it hasn't been completed. So when I click on level 3, I cannot start looking at any of these projects until the VPE has cleared me for the previous level. So I kind of wonder how he's been able to get complete through 3 levels if the VPE hasn't signed off on anything.
Maybe I shouldn't say 3 levels. Maybe I should say the 3 different projects
okay.
up to that.
Now that makes sense, absolutely, which means that he has these 3 check marks in level 1, completing the 3 projects of level 1. So same thing happens here, is just simply say to the member, okay, great, you've got those projects, so now schedule your speeches in the club. When you've completed the 4 speeches and the 1 evaluation project, then I will approve your level 1 completion.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's probably the easiest thing. You're not, once these little red check marks on project completion show up, you're not able to reset them to remove them. So once they're there, they're there. But you as the VPE are the gatekeeper at the level completion. Because like you said, it's very easy to go through, look at all the material, complete a project without actually giving a speech, move on and do the same thing. And it's not, none of the members are doing this in a nefarious or evil way.
No.
I've talked to many people that they're so interested about Pathways, they want to read about every single project and figure out what's going on. And so they'll click through each of the projects and they'll complete them just because they want to know what the projects are and what's entailed. So simply just tell your member, hey, great, now we're ready to schedule your speeches. And then once you've given those, then you can go ahead and select the level completion. Now, there is a way inside of Basecamp Manager to refuse or deny a level completion request. I am unable to show you that because I am not Vice President of Education and I don't have access to the Basecamp manager.
And I looked and I didn't see it anywhere.
Okay.
So I
So
guess
what
maybe
I
it's
will
called a
do,
Toastmasters then.
sure, what I'll do is I'll communicate with a couple people that are VPEs and ask them about denial, because I know one in particular that I've done that with, and they've said that, yes, they had to deny something. So I'll ask them how they did that, and then I can provide you with that information.
Okay, thank
So
you.
yeah, and that's one way I'm hoping to expand Virtual Academy next year, is that I am hoping that in one of the clubs that I am a member of, that I can campaign for VPE, become VPE, and then be able to show people about the the Basecamp manager on these as well. So,
Yeah, we should make you an honorary one.
yeah. Well, Toastmasters ties everything to your login and your officer role. So I have to be, president, secretary, or VP in order to be that. And I decided this year, I was like, I know, I'm going to be a Pathways guide. So I'm not going to be an officer in anything else. I'm just going to be a sergeant of arms and then the public relations officer for the district. So
Good
I have
plan.
no access to Basecamp Manager. It's like, oh, well, I didn't know that was going to happen. But I can rectify that at the end of this year. Either that or, sign up as a secretary for somebody. Maybe join another club and just be an honorary secretary or something.
Being the secretary will be less work.
Yeah, but it would still give me access to Basecamp Manager, which is
Right.
what I really want, so that I can expand these tutorials.
Or
Absolutely.
we can sit down and you can look over my shoulder.
Cool. That would work.
Yeah.
Well, did that answer your question sufficiently?
Yes, thank you.
Good. Great. Excellent. Any other questions before we continue on with my red checkmark campaign? All right. So as Janet said, it is very possible to get these red check marks without actually giving a speech. Now, I know a lot of people on the other side of the equation that can't even get the red check marks to show up. There are a couple things you can do to make sure you see those. Now, here you see under this one, Understanding Leadership Style, there's no red check mark, and I haven't even started this project yet. So I'm going to use this as a demonstration. You can see the activate says that I haven't even started it. So I click on the activate, the button then changes to launch. Once you click the launch button, that's when the pop-up window with the curriculum is launched and the curriculum is downloaded directly to your computer. Now, oftentimes it'll take a few minutes, the spinning bars you can see in here, because this information, there's a lot of it. Dependent on the project, it's downloading the links to the video and the tests and all of the other stuff. Once you've got that open, you can see the pop-up window is here. If you do not see the little arrow chevrons on either side, which I cannot see, grab the edge of your window and make it bigger. Because once you do that, they're going to be able to show up. They won't show up right yet because I haven't clicked the begin button. So I'm clicking the begin. Now I have my navigation arrows on either side. Several people have commented that they're not able to move through their projects, and most of the time it's because the window itself is sized so they can't get to those navigational arrows. So I can't move forward or back at this point. So I grab the edge of the window, drag it out until I can see those arrows, and now I can move forward or backward. So this is project number 2 for strategic relationships. That's right. I had to remember which path we're in. And it's Understand Leadership Style, which in fact is the exact same project, I believe, that I just completed, that I completed level 2 of Presentation Mastery. So often we're seeing the same project show up in different paths because they have lots of relevance in many different areas. This gives a project checklist, and I am simply clicking through. Able to identify different leadership styles. Yeah, I'm pretty much certain. Preferred. Well, I could use some work on that. Understand behavior. Chosen leadership styles impact those who I'm expected to lead. Yeah, I need some help with that one too. Analyze and adjust. Okay, sure. And this is the pretest that I'm taking. I understand the purpose of effective, good leadership and qualities. Oh, yeah, I understand the purpose. I'm not necessarily able to get there myself. And yes, I do recognize it. Now, I tend to stick away from the fives because the fives to me imply perfect, full understanding, which I don't believe that I will ever get to. But that's just me. So I submit those as my pre-test. It says, great, you're submitted. Wonderful, move on. Then this shows me the competencies that I'll learn in this project, the discovering the leadership style, which is another test that you can go through, which, and when I did this with presentation mastery, I really enjoyed it. This helped me a lot figure out not only leadership styles, but communication styles. So off camera, I'm going to go back through this a little bit slower, but here I'm just going to skip over that test that takes you through the various information. Each one of these gives you information about leadership styles, and clicking the right arrow, styles of leadership, effective. I am flying through this. This you don't want to do with a project. You want to slow down and actually read everything. This is the assignment. Now, this is the point at which you would schedule your speech with a VPE, the complete your assignment. Then this is the this is where you get your evaluation and print your project. So this is the point at which I would close my window, contact my VPE and say, hey, I'm ready to schedule, the speech for whatever project, or I'm ready to do this particular project in the club. Once I've done that, and we'll do it here, is I'm going to close this window. The pop-up window itself will go away. Pathways will regenerate to see whether or not I completed the project, which I haven't, so I don't get that red check mark. Now, we'll just speed the camera up. We're going into fast forward. It's like 2 weeks from now, and I've given the speech, and we're back again. Come back here. I'm clicking on the launch button again, relaunching the same project. It will take me to the page that I was on when I closed that project. So you can see I'm back on the evaluation page. I just have to resize my window so I can see my arrows again. Then I click to the right and I do the assess skills afterwards. So we're just going to say, yeah, okay, we learned a little bit there and a little bit there. And I'm sticking in numbers for the sake of sticking in numbers at this point. But please do go slowly through these as you do them. These assessments are actually a very valuable tool to see how you have progressed in your own project. Once I submit that, you're given the list of what your numbers are compared to what they were before. Then I click the right arrow one more time. Now, this is the most important screen for getting that lovely little red check mark. If you have not gotten to the congratulations screen, which is the exact same screen with the exact same text and picture for every single project that I have seen so far, and I've completed 4 levels in presentation mastery and 1 in strategic relationships so far, so I've seen a lot of these. Once you get to this screen, we're going to look back over here. Okay, so I've gotten to the congratulations screen, but that darn red check mark, there's still no check mark, even though I'm there. Right. One more thing you have to do. We'll go back to that screen. Once you're here, you have to close it. Yes, you have to click the X, which closes the window. Once that closes, Pathways refreshes, looks and says, hey, he was on the congratulations screen. That means the project is done. And you can see not only the percentage counter has increased, but that check mark has shown up. So once that check mark shows up, the button over here changes to evaluate. Now, at the same time, I am going to get an email from Toastmasters right now that says, you've finished your project. Why don't you evaluate it? This is Toastmasters asking for feedback on that particular project and what you liked or didn't like about it. I highly encourage you to provide feedback on the projects because this is the beginning of Pathways, and the feedback that we are giving them will help them streamline the projects, make them more relevant, and make them easier to use. So if at all you have the time and the inclination, click on that evaluate button. Now, the time limit on that is that this button will only show up for the next 10 days after you have completed your project. So it's within that 10-day window that you can evaluate. After 10 days is over, this button disappears and goes back to the launch button or view training details. Evaluate is no longer an option. So that is how you get that little red check mark there. And it is, of course, very possible to get that check mark without actually giving a speech. So that being said, are there any questions on that process so far? Or additional questions about how to, I don't know, any additional questions? Opening it wide up.
I've got a quick question.
Yeah, go for it, Marv.
After you give the speech in the club and you're evaluated in the meeting,
yes,
what does that evaluation feedback mean to this process, and how do you input that? Are you supposed to upload that evaluation in some way, or just incorporate that into your post-speech assessment?
Okay, excellent question. Originally, it was thought that you had to upload a copy of your evaluation to Pathways. And that's what I, as a guide, when I gave my first guide introductions, that's what I was telling people. But that is not true. It was thought, and what I will do is I will go back to my homepage and go into what is called the e-portfolio, which is the storage space that every member has for speeches. It was originally thought that this documents folder, that by uploading files into these, and you can see here I have several evaluations for first level projects, that my VPE could open these and verify that I did the project. Now, this was important because I was a member of multiple clubs and would give speeches outside of the club. Well, that's not true. It turns out that the only person that has access to the documents inside of your own ePortfolio is you as a member. No one else can see those documents. So the only reason that a member would want to use the ePortfolio to store documents is if they want a cloud storage space inside of Pathways. And if you want to store things here, you can simply store them inside the various folders. But there is absolutely no requirement that you have to upload a scanned or a picture document or any type of evaluation back into Pathways. It was thought that existed, but it doesn't. So you now, Marv, now that you've completed that project and you have, essentially your paper evaluation, or you have an email copy of an evaluation that somebody sent you, you can save that in any way you want to. I mean, I've got a folder of all my evaluations that I keep in my drawer in my file cabinet, and I just put them in there with those in the hard copies. But you don't have to upload anything back to Pathways.
Okay, thank you.
And
so
that
really,
was one,
basically, it's an honor system.
Yeah, it is. It really is. And it is the exact same as the legacy program, because that was even an honor system, because you had to show your manual with the signed, with the projects in the back of it to your VPE. Well, it got to the point where VPEs were getting so busy, they were simply saying, hey, email me a list of your projects and I'll put it up. So at that point, it's the honor system that we had before, and it's an honor system here. And truth be told, if somebody wants to fly through every single project in Pathways without having done a thing, okay. What are they going to get out of it? It's like, okay. To me, that's about the same as cheating at solitaire. It's like, okay, why not?
Makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we know people that I've known several people around that have educational awards that, I'm pretty certain they didn't achieve, but at the same time, that's okay. This is a self-paced, self-guided learning system, and it caters directly to the self. So, I mean, I'm spending a lot of extra time going through things a bit slower. I know a lot of people that have plowed through the levels a bit faster than I could have, but hey, it's new territory and I'm having fun in the journey. And I think that is the primary reason that I'm really liking Pathways is that this journey is pretty fun. I mean, I never did any of this stuff in the old program. Whew, it's a kick in the pants. Okay, let's go back to the homepage. So did that answer your question, Marv?
It did. Thank you very much.
Cool. All right. Well, I see we got a few other people while I was rambling on there. Hello, Kathleen. It's good to see you. I got a message from Kathleen earlier today. She is going to be a Pathways. She is a Pathways guide in District 15, and they're rolling out in March. So she's doing her research ahead of time. So welcome. Obviously, this is great. Good to have you here, and it's good to see Lyle back again. Now, since you guys haven't rolled out, a lot of this stuff is going to be very unfamiliar. Now, you're going to see it in your presentations. So,
I did have one question before you just move on from evaluations.
Go for it.
I'm thinking that the written evaluation is more effective, that, you know, the speaker brings the evaluation like we've always done, and then they get it back. Because what I foresee is they never get the online email sent to them,
Yes.
and then they're just typing and doing everything wrong while the person is speaking. So is that what you guys encourage a lot of, is to do it that way?
That's what I do. What I do is I print out a hard copy of all my evaluations for my project. In fact, in my projects, and I'll go back in here real quick. We're going to go into strategic relationships, open up that project. Now, since even though I did blast through this one, I'm going to show you. Whoops, I clicked the evaluate. I didn't want to do evaluate. I don't want to evaluate it right now. I want to go back and relaunch the project because I've looked at it. You can always go back and look at projects you've completed. So this is going to open the project again, resize the window, and then I'm going to use this down arrow here. It's a fast navigation to various parts, and click on evaluation right here. Print my project. This is the entire manual for this project itself. It's in a PDF form. This is 24 pages long. For all of my projects, what I do is I grab this PDF, download it to my computer, and then print it off on my printer. At the end of all of these, and I'll slide down to the last few pages, you've got notes on the projects as well as, I'm scrolling up, here they are. These are the evaluations, the evaluation sheets. For every project I have, I take a hard copy of the evaluation into my meetings and hand it to the person that's doing my evaluation. Then they just fill it out and hand it back to me. And I like hard copy that way. I've had a couple times where I've taken a tablet or a laptop in, but I'm kind of hesitant about handing my tablet or my laptop off to another person for them to use because, well, you know, I mean, they could drop it, spill coffee on it, etc. So I still like hard copy. I like printing these out. If you don't want to print the entire manual, you can also, and we'll go back to that project window, right here in the project under resource is the evaluation resource, which is just the 3 pages of the evaluation. So it's the first page with the standard you excelled, you want to work on, challenge yourself. Then the second page with the numbers, and then the third page, which is the explanatory information. This is what I usually will print out if I already have a copy of the manual, and then I'll just print this out to use. Now, if you know that you are evaluating someone, let's say you're going to be evaluating somebody who's doing strategic relationships networking, which is a level 3 project under strategic relationships, but you yourself aren't there, there is one location that you can get all the evaluations for every single project in Pathways, and it's this 5th button right here, speech evaluations. Probably next to the educational transcript, the next most valuable button in this window by far. This has all the speech evaluations for every single project in all 10 paths so far. You can see that it's listed by name, and they are alphabetically listed. They don't list the level or the path name because the projects are used multiple paths and multiple times. I mean, the icebreaker is at the beginning of every single path. So if you know that you're doing the making connections through networking evaluations for somebody at your club, you go through this list, you find the making connections through networking, simply click on it, which then opens that, that lovely little icon with the folder and the stuff. Then you launch that resource. It gives you the PDF of that evaluation, which then I simply click on the download to my computer. I'm opening the file with Adobe Acrobat. You can get a free copy of Adobe Reader, does the exact same thing. And then once I've got it in that format, this I could actually type in here directly in on this, or I could print it out and take it in with me. So yeah, I am completely with you, Kathleen. I like hard copy. I like the mix of digital possibility as well as being able to print it out. So that's how I encourage people.
Yeah, I could just see this whole wall of laptops and people looking down where we're trying to look up. So
yep, absolutely.
Thank you for that.
And I'm also highly recommending for the speech evaluations, clear down at the bottom of the list is one that's called a generic evaluation resource. What they've done with Pathways is they've made all the evaluations into the same format. You have the same 3 pages, the 3 areas, what you excelled at, what you're good on, what you might want to challenge yourself with, and then the list of numbers. It used to be in the legacy program that each of the advanced manuals kind of had their own evaluation, which somebody had to spend time reading to figure out the format before they gave the evaluation. Well, they've done away with that, and they've made everything the same. Well, this generic evaluation resource is simply an evaluation resource without the title or the project guidelines on it. This resource I recommend to all Sergeant of Arms or anybody who's handling the papers for a club meeting. Just print, I'd print like 10 of these blank ones, stick it in the materials so that if somebody shows up in the meeting with a Pathways presentation, or it's a hot speech Pathways or whatever, and the evaluator isn't there and they forgot their evaluation, you can take this, hand it off, and it is in the exact same format as all the other projects. So this is really good stuff.
Yeah, goes in your toolbox.
Yes, absolutely. Your toolbox, totally. All right. Did that answer your question?
Yes, very much. Thank you so much.
You have a follow-up question?
I do not.
Okay. Anyone else? I'm open.
Yeah, I do.
Go for it, Nina.
I have somebody who just did their icebreaker, and he said, can you go check and make sure I did everything all right and went through everything I needed to? And can you just go in there and you click on something and you can see exactly what I did in my path. And I said, no, I can't. Am I correct?
You're correct.
Thank you.
You can see what path they have chosen to work on. And this is me hearing this from other people who have access to Basecamp Manager because I don't. There is a way to figure out, how far through the level they are, but there is no way to figure out what they've done, what they haven't done, and all that other stuff.
I'm keeping a spiral binder, and every member's name is in it on a page, and I put at the top what path they're doing, and then the date and the title of their speech, and whether it was first, second, or third speech, and so on.
Perfect.
And somebody said, that's a waste of time. You can just go in and look. And I said, no, I don't think I can. But at least I'll know when people complete.
Right.
And go in and approve them.
And there may be a way inside of Basecamp Manager, and I don't know this for a fact, to see if they have. Janet, you're actually a Basecamp Manager. Is there a way to see how many projects someone has completed inside of a level?
No, that's the short answer.
Okay, fair enough.
There is a place that you can go and look, and it's really hard to get into and describe for me because I've been in there twice.
Okay, no problem.
But you go into Basecamp Manager and you look for the different assignments, and then you have to find out all the list of names. You'll see a chart in there, but you have to find the list of names of the members to see how far they are in each percentage.
Got it.
You can't really tell just by looking without digging pretty far.
Okay, so there's probably a tool there, but I'd say, Nina, that your process right now is going to serve you better.
Okay.
What you may want to do is spend a little bit of time digging around in there, or find another VPE that has spent time in Basecamp Manager and just say, hey, does this exist? I am hoping eventually to be able to provide that level of tutorial, but at this point I am unable to. I'm so sorry. I'll hold my head in shame. But at some point, hopefully, I can help out on that issue. I've got a few people I can communicate with, and I will. Actually, I'm going to write myself a note to find out about that.
Hey, James.
Yeah.
There is, on the Pathways Guide website on Facebook, there is a couple of people that have now posted, one, a general Excel type spreadsheet. One's for individuals and the other's for a club.
Oh, okay.
And I have one of them saved on my phone. If I can email it to you, I will.
Okay, sure.
And if not, I will send it another method. But you can share them.
Okay, tracking.
Valuable tracking.
Yeah. Now, I know that there are the two clubs that I'm involved in use what is called Easy Speak, which we use for tracking all of our activities within the clubs. And this tracks the internal activities of doing the speeches and where you're at. And I'll show you real quick for those of you who have done that. If I go into... No, not my request to speech. Sorry, wrong button. View my speech progress. So this is where I can see how far I've gone, and VPEs have access to seeing, the speeches that people have done. And I'm going to scroll down until we get to the Pathways stuff, because that's down here at the bottom. Here, as you can see, Pathways Presentation Mastery. Inside of Easy Speak, they have absolutely every single project, and you have a way of tracking where you're at with those. The VPE of the club can see this, and they schedule it directly. So Easy Speak in kind of a partnership with Pathways is a really good way of essentially having an electronic version of what you're already doing, Nina, is a tracking system. So whichever one you are familiar with, by all means, organize away. Absolutely. There are lots of tools out there. Yep. Back to, whoops, wrong page. I got to try and figure out which page I was on. Not that one. Nope. There we were. Okay, perfect. Any other, did that answer your question, Nina?
Yes, thank you.
Good. I'm wide open for more questions if anybody's got them. Okay, now I am going to show you something intriguing in the sense of kind of fun, and I'm hoping it'll continue to get even better, and that's the My Feedback tab. Inside of the My Feedback, you have all the feedback you can request from other people in your club and feedback you can give to other people in your club. So I scroll down here. Now, this one example shows me the power of this. When I first did my icebreaker in Pathways, I sent out a request for feedback to several people in my club about how I did. You know, I'd love some feedback on my recent icebreaker, suggestions for how I could improve. Well, you know, we get some that are just humorous. Be a little warmer. Ice is cold. Okay. So I'll make my next one a warm breaker instead of an icebreaker. But this right here from the president of our club shows me the power of just being able to use it here. The icebreaker I gave, I used PowerPoint and did a PowerPoint presentation. Well, he here has given me links to various web pages about how to do different presentations besides just PowerPoint. Now, if he had given these to me, you know, said, in the club, you might look up Pechakucha, you might look up kinetic typography. I may have written it down and I may not have followed it up. But right here, he's given me the exact link. I can grab this right here, paste it into my browser, and go to the exact page that he was talking about. This, to me, was just dynamic, powerful, and incredible because it's going to be here for later on. I don't have to worry about trying to figure out what page it's on. It's right here, and all the information he's giving me is here too. This is one of the things I like about the My Feedback and requesting feedback. I believe it will become even more robust and helpful as more members of the club get into Pathways, because there have been several feedback requests that I've sent out where I haven't gotten anything back from, and I think that's because they're not working Pathways yet. There's also these kind of cool little badges that you can receive and give to people. I'm going to back up and show you the badges real quick. Whoops. Okay, click on transcript. Okay, come on, give me badges. All right, we're going back to the home page. Sometimes it's difficult to get to these locations. All right, I'm clicking on the My Feedback again. Oh, that's it. It's under ePortfolio. Oh, I forgot that. Clicking on the ePortfolio, that's where the badges are. Oh, it's on the front page too. And I missed it. Yeah, this big blue button that says My Badges. That's also how you get there. Okay, it's been a long day. Under here, these are all the badges, the electronic badges that you receive by working in Pathways. Now, Toastmasters pulled this directly, as far as I'm concerned, from the online gaming community. I do a fair bit of online gaming just for fun. And in there, they give out trophies immediately. Once you've accomplished, you know, a particular dungeon, or you've solved this particular problem, or you've solved this puzzle, you get a trophy. You get recognition immediately. And that is what Toastmasters has grabbed onto, immediate recognition. These badges, as you can see, I've got 2 level 1 achieved, and those 2 are the 2 levels that I've activated. Presentation Mastery and Strategic Relationships. It shows the 2. Doesn't tell me which ones they are, and nope, clicking on it, it won't tell me. So you get a badge for each level you complete. So I've got 1, 2, 3, and I've completed 4 in Presentation Mastery. I also have the 2 activation badges, Presentation Mastery activated, Strategic Relationships activated. I have the Pathways Mentor Program activated after getting into level 2. And then I have this 1 exceptional badge, which a member of my club gave to me. Now, the way to find out how I got that badge is in the feedback tab. In the feedback, you can see someone who gave you a badge. It's tied to their name directly right next to it, as well as when they gave it to you and any comments they provided. Now, you can give badges to other members in your club. Now, you go to the search box in the upper right-hand corner and start typing in, I'm going to try a club member. I type their name, I click on their profile, and then click on their feedback tab. Now here you can see that I've given a badge to Romeo already when I posted it here and said, hey, here you go, back on this particular time. He hadn't responded to it yet, so he may not have seen it yet. which is one of the downsides of the badges. You're not given a notification that somebody's given you a badge, so you don't know they're there until you stumble on them yourself. Now, this, I think, is one of the unrealized, really strong potential gold mines inside of Pathways, not only for recognition, but for communication and for the ability to get information later, like those links to the websites. So this is one area I'm hoping that they really, really improve and they work on so that we can get notifications about badges, notifications about feedback, and this can become kind of a venue inside of the club for communication, which is different than feedback. I mean, they're polling from the social networking sites, obviously the same idea, but I think it's inside of Pathways. I think it has some traction, some really possibilities to make that pretty cool. All right, let's see. We are at 7:50, 51. So we got about 9 minutes left. I'm going to open it up again for questions so I can stop rambling. Boring you guys to death, probably.
I do have a question, James.
Go for it.
And now I forgot what I was going to say. This is terrible. My brain doesn't work sometimes.
Sorry.
I know what it was. How do you make your screen small like this so that you can see everything all at once? Mine,
good question.
I have to keep scrolling up and down, and it's annoying.
Okay, really good. What you do on your control keyboard, on your keyboard, you hold your control and your control key down, then hit your plus button. So I'm hitting my plus button. It's making my screen bigger. I hit my minus sign. It makes my screen smaller.
Okay.
And it's a good thing that you mentioned that, because I had a couple members who had the problem that they couldn't see stuff on their screen and they couldn't navigate to it. And it was simply by adjusting the screen size that they were able to see those. Great question. That definitely falls into the troubleshooting technical category. Yep. So try that, see if it works out for you on your screen.
Yeah. And then one other question. I came in just a few minutes late because I had to restart my computer, but you had a page that had all of your virtual sessions on it.
Yes.
It was...
it's right here under YouTube, and you search for D7 Toastmasters Virtual Academy, and it will give you the D7 Toastmasters Virtual Academy playlist of all the greatest hits from the D7 Toastmasters Virtual Academy.
With us launching, is there one or two in particular you would suggest that I get familiar with and get to my club? I have a virtual session tomorrow.
Sure. What you might, because most of these are going to be about 45 minutes or an hour long, that they're these virtual sessions that I've recorded. What you could look at, there's one right here, which is D7 Pathways Virtual Academy, Pathways 101. It is essentially a breakdown of the legacy program versus Pathways and what the difference is. And it's a 4-minute video that just talks about the differences between the one versus the other. So that if you have people working in the legacy program, it kind of illustrates a few of the new bits about Pathways. And it's just simply me talking about it. There are other introductory videos online. If you do just a search for Pathways intro videos, you're going to find a lot of them.
Okay.
I do provide one caution, though. In my searches for Pathways materials, I've run across a lot of material that's very negative. That is, people really complaining about Pathways and being irritated by it. Now, Pathways is here to stay, and my stated goal is to be positive and to help people learn about Pathways because I'm really enjoying it. So you might definitely screen the material before you just, select a video and show it, because it may say something you don't want it to say. Like a negative attitude, which really doesn't help.
No.
Yeah,
No,
because
and we
I
have
was
that even just on why wasn't something released to the presidents and vice presidents before, and
right.
very irritated. And it's just
Yep.
like, you're just going to have to get in there and learn it.
There is. I mean, if I've had lots of conversations about how the rollouts could have been handled better or how it could have been handled differently, but the reality is that now that it's here, I'm having fun with it. I found so much material inside of the new Pathways program that I never encountered in the legacy program. And I've been a Toastmaster since 2008. So I've done a lot of the advanced manuals and the projects, and I really like what I'm encountering. I really do. So I hope other people do too.
And you're calling the traditional program the legacy?
Yeah,
I've
that's
heard
kind of
that.
the term. We were using seasoned, we were using old, but we kind of landed on legacy because it doesn't, it's real, it's popular within the software realm because a legacy software program is one that was previous to the one that you're working on. So it's
I
just
like
kind
that.
of borrowing from computer speak. So, yep.
That's great. All right, thank you. That's all the questions I have
Cool.
for now.
Wonderful. Well, we're at 7:56. I've got time for a last-minute question or a comment. If you want to make a comment about what you're encountering or a resource I haven't pointed out, that would be great. Cool. Well, hearing crickets.
Well, thanks for your time tonight, James. I learned quite a bit tonight.
Cool. Well, thank you all very much for being here. Currently, the schedule has me doing these through the end of this month, each Tuesday. I'm going to be looking at my schedule and try to figure out a way to keep this going. It may be every other week or it might be once a month. I'm not sure, but it will still have the exact same link that you use to get to this meeting. It'll be the same meeting ID and everything. So if you've got an old link, you'll still be able to find it. And I'll continue to send out the information. By all means, do not hesitate to send me an email if you have any questions on Pathways. We're finding all sorts of resources, and I'm trying to make them available to everybody. If you have a question, send it to me. And if I don't have a good answer, I will find a good answer, and I will send it to you. So thank you all for being here. I am going to stop the recording right now before the